Hey church family, I'm Daniel, and I'm here on staff at NCC. I love having a chance to speak with you this morning, and I hope this devotional sparks some deeper thinking as we discover who we are as believers. Our current sermon series is all about discovering who God says we are and how we ought to behave in response. Today I want to ask you, how does following Christ keep us close to God? I'll go ahead and go first in attempting to answer this. The God we serve, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as described in the Bible, is made up of three persons: God the Father, God the Son, Jesus, and God the Spirit. Together, they form the Trinity, or in Christianese, the triune God, 3 in 1. Each person of the Trinity has a role in the story of history. In the Old Testament, God the Father took the leading role in his relationship with humans. He called Abraham out of his own hometown to a land that he would show him. He rescued the Jews from captivity in Egypt. He established 12 tribes and laid out plans for a temple. All of this happens in the Old Testament, and then he sent his son in the form of Jesus to earth. Why did God do this? First, we have to understand that we have a sin problem. When sin entered the world, it separated us from God. Since God is holy, he had to distance himself from us because we were unholy. This certainly broke God's heart, and it wasn't what he originally intended for mankind. He wanted relationship with us, and yet he knew we would have a hard time relating to him with the separation that sin causes between us. Because we can't talk with God like a person, and like Adam and Eve did in the garden, we needed a person to look to and understand what it is like. God knew that it would be difficult for us to have a relationship with a purely spiritual being that we can't see or speak to. This is when Jesus enters the scene. He's born on earth, and he lived a perfect life that none of us can attain on our own. It's through knowing Jesus that we can understand God's character and his personality and what he intended our lives to look like. When we follow Jesus, attempting to live more like he did. In doing this, we take on our new identity. We begin to prioritize the things he values and behave the way he did. When you study Jesus' life, you see how much love he has for those around him and how much he relied on his Father in heaven. We often read stories of how Jesus prayed and how he responded to situations while here on earth. God literally set an example for us. When we follow him, we will inevitably become more like him and how he was. Of everyone ever born on the planet, Jesus was the most like God because he was God. The more closely we follow him in our lives, the closer we get to knowing the mind and the heart of God and sharing his priorities. In my own life, I've attempted to follow Jesus to different degrees of success. One of the lessons he taught me was how to love like he loved. Jesus tells us in one of his Gospels that when we visit with those in prison, when we clothe the naked or feed the hungry, we do so as though we are doing it for Jesus. It's because he loves all people with an all-consuming love. If we take this seriously and attempt to live it, we can feel his love moving through us. And I gotta tell you, it's addicting. So, is there someone in your life that needs to be loved? Is there someone in your sphere of influence who is constantly overlooked or maybe viewed as unimportant? What would it look like if you were obedient to the Lord and allowed him to use you as his instrument of love? Would this draw you close to God? It certainly did for me. Now, I am by no means perfect, and I'm still working on this in my own life. But I want to encourage you to do the same. When we are obedient, other people notice. They're noticing Jesus working through us, and we are becoming more like him. This is what it means to follow Jesus, and in doing so, we experience a closeness to God like we never have before. I want this for you. As you go throughout your day and for the rest of your week, ask yourself, if Jesus were standing here in the place of someone in front of me, how would I respond? What would I give or say or do in appreciation for what Jesus has already done for me? I gotta tell you, if you do this, you should buckle up because you're in for a wild ride.